Ah. Ah.
Mr.
Everyone.
Quicksand?
Oh.
Hello.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, I won't.
Anyways, back to it. Sorry, I was just thinking about your predictions. I mean, that me
Yeah, go
behaving
on.
like that wasn't related to your predictions at all.
Okay.
But let me just hover over the Twitch predictions. Game 2 predictions. JADE Track 2,800. STARCASTERS 1,900.
Yeah, man.
Now, I wonder why all these votes coming in so heavily swayed.
Yeah, I've got no answers. I don't know. I'm not sure. Don't look at me. All right. Don't look at me before I have to put my heads behind my back and get cuffed away if things are looking wrong. Look, I don't know why people listen to me. I don't. All right. It's not me. It's the script. All right. People are trying to blame me over this little piece of paper that gets mailed into me every week. This guy rocks up. He looks very sketchy. I'm not a big fan of him, but like anyway, he comes in, he gives me my little script, and it's totally fine. Teams are very, very close to jumping into draft, so make sure that the popcorn's cooked. Make sure you've got your water bottle by side because we're about to jump in, and there's a lot that we mentioned that JADE Dragons will need to look for Quicksand if they want to change things up in this game. But in your mind, what do you think was the biggest reason that they may have lost that game 1 and something that they'll need to alter if they want to actually make this 3 games?
Gragas building Radiant Virtue.
Sure.
But at the
I'll
same
vibe with
time,
that.
there was sort of a avenue that even though we predicted at the start that StarCasters was going to win, and therefore they did, but therefore it's not because we predicted, from hence which they did. And it was because not only was their composition a lot more well-structured, it was that Gwen became an unstoppable force that couldn't be put down.
Yeah.
Sion didn't get the chance to scale, and Kog'Maw didn't get the chance to play the game, which pretty much led Vladimir to be the main carry here for the side of JADE Dragons, and it just wasn't as impactful as it should have been because of Gwen making all that space. I want to say the answer is don't feed, but it feels like it was very heavily a draft diff and a sensibility diff. And that's not the one I'm looking for, but the fact that we saw StarCasters give away the first dragon, they played around those objectives because they knew when they spiked. Maybe seeing JADE Dragons playing more steadily is the move. I mean, did you have a different take, Casual?
No, I think you're exactly right because a lot of things do sort of tend to start from draft. I think that's where a lot of people should be looking towards in these type of games where it is so important in this meta that we need to be looking towards drafting something that is cohesive. It didn't feel very cohesive for JADE Dragons, and so it starts in the ban phase, doesn't it? Where they need to look out for what picks are actually going to stop us from doing what we need to do. So do we want Worgen on a similar type Kog'Maw Milio style where you want a front to back? Well, then we need to be picking front to back across the board. We need to be making sure that we're actually really secure in how we want to play out these fights. StarCasters aren't going to change anything in these first 3, I don't think. Still taking away the Cho'Gath and the Draven. And not really much of a switch up for the JADE Dragons. I mean, StarCasters have a pretty obvious first 3 bans that people go for. They take away Easy Life's Lysandra. They pick one of Tempest's top 3 jungle champs. They're all really heavily in the meta, whether it be Jarvan, Elise, or Wukong, and then they'll try and sort of just throw a ban somewhere else. What's interesting, though, is taking away the Ornn. So it tells me that they may not want a weak side hemophiliac this game because you're taking away something like the Ornn that you don't really want a weak side into just because it is so strong and scaling for itself. I say it all the time, Ornn is that tanky Kayle. So taking that away, and they're going to pick something that was pretty much the only thing that worked, that Vladimir. I don't actually hate this for a first pick, to be honest, Quick.
Yeah, look, I'm not too sure about it, but I see where you're coming from, Casual. Seeing Vladimir come as a first pick, it's more that there's just so many better things to first pick right now. Taking the J4, taking the Jinx. Look, Vladimir, I think that it is definitely an intelligent lock-in because you made a really clever statement before about how the most important thing that it comes down to in the end is comfort. And if Vladimir is what worked, maybe that's the move. But Jinx Lulu being locked in is already a disgusting threat. And I would be a little concerned if I was JADE Dragon seeing that locked in. Something I want to see them lock in is a different ADC. Now, what I found really interesting is that Kai'Sa actually is the second most played ADC in this elo. So even though she's not up there as the deadliest ADC right now, at the very least, she still is very strong. But seeing maybe a Xayah or even that Kai'Sa, which we saw before, and Aphelios, very strong right now, especially in the LEC. We've seen Crownie, who's been quite a significant player, especially in the ADC role, bringing out some of those champions, and it's paid off really well. Varus is one that is maybe not the most
Okay.
overpowered champion, but has his place in the meta, I'd say.
All right, people's hands getting a bit sweaty with their predictions right now. Is instead of locking something like a Zaya Rakan, a Zeri Nautilus, anything like Varus Renata, there were so many decent 2v2 pairings. Instead, they opt for something I've never seen before, which is the Zilean Varus. I'm not too sure what the plan is here. Maybe they thought that the reason they were losing these fights is that Worgen was just getting bursted at the very start. So pick something like the Zilean and actually allow him to not die, give him that free GA, right? I do actually really like Zilean as a pick. I just don't like it in this game because you haven't matched it with anything that kind of makes sense to me. I feel like now the draft is really skewed and you're unsure of where to go. And STARCASTERS have just got their 3 best comfort picks right now. I mean, they've got Tempest on his favorite champ right now, the Jarvan, and the Jinx Lulu. They didn't do anything incredible in Game 1 Quicksand, but they did their job. And they're really, really hard to shut down if you don't actually look to shut them down. It's already looking incredibly strong for STARCASTERS. So they'll need to pull something out of their hats here for the jungler right now. They still have Daenerys' Viego as an option. It would mean that you'd be looking for some sort of frontline on Hemophiliac again, but he did an okay job as a tank. Yeah, his laning was pretty sketchy, wasn't the greatest 1v1 sort of experience we've ever seen. You're not really looking to play for that when you've got something like a Zilean. You're not playing for the side lane, you're playing for those big team fights, right? So maybe there are options there, and not many tanks are being banned away as well. Quicksand, Mordekaiser and Zac being the option for STARCASTERS, and then potentially they just match with another mid lane ban. Yeah, they do in the Cassiopeia. So a lot of top lanes are still up right now, so they could go for a front line, get Daenerys on something that is much more comfortable with, that he knows what he wants to do. The Ivern hovered again. Maybe that's just a thing for Dark. Maybe he just likes Ivern's face. I don't know. It is a beautiful face. It is a beautiful face.
It's a kind soul, I think.
He is.
Yeah. Look,
God, maybe they run it back.
He doesn't get to play the game, bro. Varus has just
Not this stage.
locking in a champion. Like, look, Thresh would have been so amazing. Like, having Jarvan being locked in here basically means unless your ADC is someone like Tristana or someone with a dash, then like tough luck, man. Then maybe having a Thresh, that lantern comes out, bang! You've got someone who can not only peel you, give you pressure in lane over a duo like Jinx Lulu, who is okay in the early game, but really shows its true colors later in the game. Even Zaya Rakan, man. Imagine the pressure you have there. Okay, Volibear is probably the most shafted champion I've ever seen in League of Legends. They reworked him and they did it again. So seeing Volibear being locked in is a pretty big stunner to me.
Oh, wow. If the Kassadin's real, then we may be looking at a flex here, and they could actually flex around to multiple roles. It would guarantee that Volley's actually going into the jungle, so I doubt it is a Kassadin here. It's going to be Vladimir top. Okay, interesting. And they're going to go for the Fizz mid, and they're going to rotate the Volley towards jungle. Look, I talked about comfort, right? The draft may not make sense on paper, but it does make sense in terms of their OP.GG. They have picked majority comfort for a lot of them. So Worgen absolutely loves his Varus, not more than his Draven, but it's something he'll usually go towards. Cletus now, speaking of comfort, gets to pick one of his favorite champs in the Aatrox. So Hemophiliac gets a champion he absolutely loves. It's actually his one trick, this Vlad. So it'll be really interesting to see that while Kasumi played really well on it, maybe they just like the champ, and it's actually not what they were opting for. Maybe Vlad was meant to go top this entire time, and this is the game where it starts to make sense for the Jade Dragons. But the Fizz into Victor, it is a, what's that word that LS use? A vacuum pick. It is a vacuum answer to Victor, right? And the reasons behind that is that it works solely into Victor. I don't think it makes much sense outside of the game. Once you've got Jarvan Cataclysm and you've got the Lulu Overgrowth, it's going to be really hard to actually do your job in one shot in the AD carry. But so far, if you get a decent lead in mid, which is actually an option for you because of how the sort of 1v1 dynamic goes, it's not too bad for Jade Dragon. So we've picked very heavy meta on STARCASTERS, so it's easy for one to go like, all right, STARCASTERS are just going to clean shop, right? But comfort over everything. This is what people are forgetting, and they're also forgetting this bad boy right here, the script, and it does say Jade Dragons will win this game. So, look, honestly, time will tell. I'm pretty shocked at Draft 2, don't get me wrong. I'm trying to play it cool. I don't really understand a lot of the champions that are picked, but they have more options at least to kind of put STARCASTERS on the back foot. Like, STARCASTERS have a really clear game plan with this Jarvan once again. Keep Jinx Lulu alive, play towards your top side. However, it's a dynamic now in top lane where it's not as easy as it was to gank a Sion when you're playing Gwen Jarvan. Like, this ladder is a lot more slippery. So you might be able to actually see Hemophiliac not be so far behind. And if he is even or ahead, see how he can impact these team fights, because he was doing pretty well, especially at that one Dragon fight that Jade Dragons did end up winning and then losing. He was doing a decent job, so we'll have to see about how much Daenerys can keep his lanes alive versus Tempest. But I can see why people with the predictions may be a bit scary with how this pick ban has gone so far.
Yeah, look, I'm struggling, man. I'm not gonna lie. First of all praise the script. I must be wrong, but like,
all praise the script.
All praise the script.
Yeah,
dude. Aatrox, as you said, may be a little bit shafted and not the strongest, but still went ahead and when played right, it's still pretty disgusting. And this composition, especially for Starcasters, just mate, it's like the comp. Tell me it's not like B comp. When I think of elite comp, this is what I think of. And
it's pretty decent, yeah.
I like dart my eyes over to the left. Varus, Zillion. It's solo queue. It really is. And not even that. It feels like, look, Victor just has so much control over everybody else. Fizz has a chance to jump through what Victor, his whether it's his Chaos Storm or his trap to get the stuns out or his laser beam. That guy can make space. And no one else can walk into it besides maybe Fizz, who then again, once he gets on the inside, he does have a chance to blow up Jinx or Victor, cancelled out by Lulu. He tries to jump on anyone else, done. He may be able to jump out of the Jarvan cage, but the Jarvan cage on Varus doesn't get to play the game. Like, it's just every matchup I can think of right now feels like Starcasters just go, they're laughing at these guys. Feels like a playground insult. So I got to give to Starcasters this game. I know that goes against everything we've said about.
Hey man, they're your channel points. If you want to lose them, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I definitely didn't put my channel points on Jade Dragons. I definitely didn't.
You do that. No, it's a good point. It's interesting, right? So I feel like what we're looking at on blue side is to really dive heavy comp with the Fizz, Volibear, and the Vladimir, able to get onto the backline, and then we're seeing a pretty classical front to back coming out from Starcaster. So it's the name of the game. Who can complete their strategy better? Who can actually play towards their win con that they need to in terms of their comp? The one thing that I think is good for Jade Dragons, the champions are weird, but at least they follow a similar style in what they want to do. Even Zillion is one of those rare enchanters that actually wants to dive along with his carry. So parts of it make sense to me, and only time will tell as we jump into in-game. But I think we'll go for a quick break, shan't we? Quicksand, we'll get some water, we'll get ready. And then when we come back, though, Game 2 versus Jade Dragons and Starcasters, will it be a 2-0, or are we going to get a banger 3-game series coming out in Week 3 of this MCOM Iron to Plat training grounds? Wait to find out, and we'll see you onto the Rift.
It is time for game number 2. Welcome back, everybody. And we have just seen an overwhelming victory from the Starcasters here up against the Jade Dragons. Loaded back in once again with some questionable thoughts about draft. But before we get into that, let's take a moment to remember where these teams are at right now. As Casual said earlier, we are in week number 3 of the MCOM Iron to Plat tournament. And that means that we're getting to the point where rankings really start to show. Even though if you look at the standings right now, it's only after 2 weeks, so it doesn't feel as impactful. But after that 3rd week, the middle of the season right now, which is 5 weeks long, teams start to spread out. And when that happens, these guys, if you take a step up, you're starting to look a whole lot better on the leaderboard. And taking a loss now puts you in pretty much a position that if you lose one more game, you're almost written out of making your way into playoffs. So this game matters so much for both of these teams, for their mental, for their momentum. And to assist me in delivering you all of that magic, Casual, mate, let's come back to how we feel about this bot lane, because, I mean, bot lane is what everyone talks about in the league right now. Varus, Zillion, I don't understand how this goes into the Jinx Lulu as well as maybe Jade Dragon would have imagined.
Yeah, so it's going to be curious for them because there's 2 ways to basically handle the Jinx Lulu 1-2, right? You pick something really aggressive to shut it down, or you try and match their ability to scale. So we'll see often some people will opt for something like the Zeri, an AD carry that can match Jinx later on with its ability to play out team fights and to scale up into the later stages of the game. And then you usually pair the Zeri with something that's actually able to jump onto the Lulu. Lulu's main weakness is the ability to be engaged on, right? Pretty immobile, pretty squishy, one of the lower health bars in the entire game. So you go like a Leona or a Nord or things like this, right? So that's what you usually want to pair. Now, Varus and Zillion don't really do any of those things, but what they do nicely is avoid things that STARCASTERS will look for. And those are basically their 2 reset champions. Aatrox with his resets on his ultimate passive, and then Jinx, her actual passive as well. Resetting in team fights for both of these champions is oh so important when securing dubs and victories. And so it's really nice that they've allowed a pick like the Zilean to be in this game to stop that from happening. However, it's a very short-term answer, because if you are really behind in these fights, then all you're really doing is just kind of condemning someone to death, because it's not a GA where you get to move around and reposition, right? You're stuck there. So hopefully you don't have to use it too early. What I do like is separate answers in the top lane is, hold on, like a bit of a DC coming out of Vlad there. Ping issue.
Not sure what that was.
Oh, Tempest actually misses the smite.
And it's going to be a double buff, V double buff, as Daenerys may get the shield, but Tempest attempts to come through with an evade there, but it looks like Hemophiliac wasn't in the mood to try and come down and assist with whatever was happening in the jungle, and Cletus was certainly holding dominance of the lane. We can see how Zilean affects the lane too. He is going to get caught in the choppers. That's so awful. And now Wogan going to desperately keep his teammate alive. Exhaust being dropped on both sides as Dark is forced to burn both of her summoner spells. Wogan flashing forward and picking up first blood, as now Redimus is forced to run away. Easy Life has the trap right in front of him, and he might trade just back. Kasumi, it's a flash for a flash, and it's a dash for a dash. A kill for a death, and it looks like Easy Life has managed to trade back a kill for his team.
Yeah, so kind of outplays across the board there. You mentioned it in the play-by-play. Dark's Flame Chompers were just the story of that bot lane actually finding themselves to be in a position to get caught out. So it's almost like a bit of a bait. I'm sure he didn't mean to actually bait his team, but it looked like a really decent play for STARCASTERS as they moved forward. But Worgen just knew his damage output on this virus, knew that all it took was a Q, flash, auto, and dead, done. I think, crucially though, Lulu is a champion that is countered by its cooldowns in the early stages of the game, so shield wasn't available. So all Worgen had to do was wait for that passive shield to be down, and then secures himself a kill. Really, really good start for JADE Dragons. Loving what I'm seeing so far. Top lane smashing their wet noodles at each other. Cletus actually losing out in that trade a little bit as well. So we're already seeing this sort of cheeky Vlad flex pick working out. But then the kill at the opposite end as well. So Easy Life recovering for his team despite the bot lane stuff up. Just an overextension coming out from Kasumi. I talked about cooldowns being higher in the early game. Same with Fizz, right? Hold on. Flash.
Daenerys. He gets the flash out, and Cletus, mate, he's pretty much been spelt for death. The flash has come out for him too, and without a demonic ascension, sorry, a world ender, there's no way that he's making it out of that one.
Yeah, so really, really nicely played by Daenerys, and we're already seeing so much more aggression coming out of him compared from these previous games, right? Which I really, really like to see. The only thing that's sort of working to the script is this mid lane matchup, that Victor's going to actually push out this Fizz in the early game, and so that's the only thing that we're seeing sort of going according to plan for STARCASTERS. They're losing out top. Bot lane's currently losing as well. So far, so good for JADE Dragons, who have come out with a vengeance in this game too. Not really wanting to just sit back and let this series end. I'm loving what I'm seeing.
And look, I think the only way to describe this match is it feels like I'm at 40 winks right now. I'm shopping for my mattress because comfort is king. Look, Wogan, again, that kill that he pulled out earlier on Dark, mate, he only did that because he knew how strong his virus was. Hemophiliac, you watch him play against his Aatrox in the top lane. Bro, he is so calm, bro. He's reached his Zen state playing up here on the top lane, sidestepping so casually.
Good one.
Kasumi may be the one to overextend here, but even Daenerys and how Rekkry feels like he's playing is, they're very, very comfortable. You can just see it in how they're moving.
Yeah, no, I really like that they have opted for something like this, because not always do we just need to be replicating what we see in pro play, right? Because just because we pick a champ doesn't mean we understand what its function is. And so far, it seems like knowing what your function is works really well. The only thing that's sort of keeping STARCASTERS in this game, despite losing out to a couple of those kills early, to find a decent trade on Team Reflect. Good use of the pool, actually, to avoid that Q3 from the Aatrox. But the only thing, to continue my point, that's working out for them is that superior laning that we talked about. Like, CS leads in pretty much every single lane. Some minute, some larger, like we see in the mid lane, mainly due to that kill that Victor was able to go down. But they're not going to let the fact that their lanes may not be like outstandingly winning their 1v1 stop them from early pressure. We saw in game 1 JADE Dragon securing the Drake, and so they're going to do that this game as well. We'll have to see what that second Drake's going to be. It's an Infernal. Oh, God. We might get a Cloud Soul again. Snooze. Boring. No. Speaking of 40 winks. Goddamn. Anyway, first Dragon's still pretty good, right? It's still pretty good. But Tempest, it's a curious situation for him, I think, Quicksand, because he's not used to being sort of on the back pedal in a lot of these games. Like, he's usually the one making these plays, but Daenerys is so focused on making sure his lanes not even go even, but get ahead, and so far so good for the blue side jungler.
Daenerys and Tempest finally get the chance to do a bit of a skill check on each other now. They both met each other here in the bottom river as the scuttle fight is about to start collapsing.
Volley, no flash.
Easy life. He was going to walk down and support Tempest here, but it looks like, yeah, that's right. The no flash on volley means that it was pretty much a done deal. Having to walk out of that one, meaning easy life gets to stay in lane, and that scuttle is so essential. It's pretty much given Tempest a little bit more control of that bottom river. Daenerys isn't going to let it stay, though. He is looking for a gank earlier while in the top lane. Hemophiliac and Cletus are still dishing out damage.
Okay, so this is really interesting what's happening in bot lane. You'd hope that Volley actually hits 6 off this way if he doesn't, because if he was able to actually get his ultimate, they could look for a dive onto the Lulu because they did chunk her down so far. But with no way to dive necessarily safely, even with the Zillion ult, with the Chrono Break, it's still not really going to mean that much. So far, STARCASTERS actually get away with a bit of a victory there, making sure that they avoid that Daenerys gank, getting the bot scuttle so important. Tempest even going to do a bit of counter jungling due to the fact that his mid lane has so much prio. So yeah, a couple early kills doesn't really mean that the story's going to change all that much for STARCASTERS. We're seeing Cletus just combo this Vlad time and time again. They're very strong in this game so far. Even if they did drop a first Drake, it's better looking from JADE Dragons, but you'd hope that the experience from STARCASTERS may mean that any slight error in the early game isn't as devastating as it was in our game 1.
And it's so funny that neither laner on top
has
mana. The Stormbreaker comes down from the skies. Easy Life has no way of escaping. He does get the Chaos Storm before he goes down, and Kasumi is forced to make a break for it. Daenerys, he's being chased by the Chaos Storm, and it spelled his doom as Tempest picks up the kill.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Volley decided to stay in the Victor ultimate. Not the most amazing, yeah, even Flash being burned flat. I mean, that was inevitable, right, with how these early trades have been going. I mean, Cletus really comfortable on his champion. Hold on. Oh, bro, so close. He was able to use his pull just in time. Damn. So STARCASTERS coming back with a bit of a vengeance there, making sure the mid lane play isn't an absolute disaster. Yes, Easy Life still did fall, but still able to get that kill onto the Volley Bear isn't too bad, given that it had to give one the way towards an assist for his previous play. But so far, I think my main thing that I'm really surprised at is the bot lane right now. The fact that they're winning. I mean, STARCASTERS got their bread and butter in the Jinx Lulu, but Varus is looking pretty decent as Tempest actually moving towards the top side. Because they look for something?
They haven't burnt the pool just yet, so
Cletus
Varus tries to heal. The pool goes down, and Cletus has gone down! Hemophiliac has turned the tables in an unexpected manner, and now he comes out of a gank that it feels like he really should not have survived.
No, not at all. So Cletus actually just a slight overstep and finds the emo play. Cut a flash ult. And it's interesting. Hold on.
Pool, the cooldown must have finished by now. He's just trying to make a break for it. Does get the heal and has Daenerys to back him up. Gets the pool, makes the explosion as Daenerys comes down. Doesn't have Stormbreaker on his back as Tempest is going to be able to make a break for it.
Jeez, yeah, so this Vladimir actually, even in CS effectively, 2 kills up now as well, looking pretty decent, pretty strong. So Cletus, just a slight misposition there means that he gets caught out, but this is what we mean about comfort, is that Hemophiliac just knew his damage there. Hold on, bot lane may need to be careful. Oh, ult misses.
Oh, the Chomper's on his back foot, means it's going to be hard for him to get away. That's great repositioning there from Wogan. He really just put himself in a better spot, and now he almost drops the charged bolt. He does take a tower shot for it, and it looks like the side of STARCASTERS are going to have to back off just a little bit here, burning a flash as well.
Yeah, both bot lanes are going to just recall, just sort of cut their losses there, which isn't too bad of a call. I mean, the only reason that JADE Dragons bot lane may want to stay and Wogan may want to hang around is if their Volley Bear was on that side of the map. So STARCASTERS should read their reset as the fact that Volley is topside, because if he was bot lane with his ult coming up as well, it's pretty much just 2 free kills, right, with Jinx and Lulu being so low. Means that they actually secure that Herald and they're going to just run straight towards Dragon. I mean, spawning in only a couple of seconds, Quicksand, they can use the Herald to even distract in a lane and guarantee themselves prior towards the top river, or STARCASTERS can read the play and start that Dragon on spawn while they're all on reset.
Also, where is the vision? It's like there's only vision in the bottom left section of the jungle right now. I mean, wards are being placed, but they're being so rapidly cleared that it's so hard to identify where Tempest is. After taking down the dragon there, I mean, how much information they have the Dragon was even being taken. And we saw earlier when those 2 bot lanes backed, it's because there's so little information on where the junglers are that they couldn't even stay in lane and try to shove it up. Tempest now going to jump to his flag. The Cataclysm's
down.
Like I said, it is a death sentence for Varus. He forces a flash out with something with a significantly shorter timer. That's only 100 seconds for something like Flash, which has to wait 300 seconds just to get back.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it really is a death sentence unless you've got Flash, right? That's pretty much it. Just hold on top lane, want to block on.
Hemo, he doesn't have the pull anymore. And now it's down to Cletus to land his abilities. Hemo, he needs healing right now. That Q's about to proc. And Cletus knows maybe he's in too deep.
Yeah, gets himself out, so keeps his lead as well, because the last thing you'd want is to give Cletus a bounty after Hemophiliac's done so well to give himself, just allowing himself to be even, really, in this lane, even just slightly ahead. Yeah, the gold's pretty much even for Aatrox despite being 0-2, and speaking of gold, we're probably going to be looking at bot lane getting themselves some juicy monies. Cletus wants to dive.
Okay, Daenerys, Wallbreaker comes through. Tempest has come down on top of Daenerys. He doesn't have Cataclysm back up, and he's pretty much lost his utility as a champion now. All he can do is tank damage as Kasumi, oh my god, he messes up the E! Forced to flash over wall as Tempest dashes down to Daenerys, and Tempest is done and dusted as Kasumi chums the waters and picks up his second catch of the day for a double kill on Lulu.
Damn, okay, so the script coming up, big dividends. I can't even hold the excitement in my voice. JADE Dragon's looking so much cleaner in this game. They say, stuff your LCK draft, stuff your pro players. We're not pro players, we are Iron to Plat Giga Chads. We'll pick whatever the fuck we want, and we will pop off. Let's go. All right, big from JADE Dragon. So STARCASTERS, though, really just got red on the play there. Didn't actually respect Volibear's ability to dive. So really unfortunate the STARCASTERS just weren't respecting, and maybe this stems from draft. They see the champions they pick, they go, oh, easy guys, auto win, we don't need to respect. Well, hold on, there's 5 decent players on this opposite end. Like, STARCASTERS, you're pretty good here, but it's not enough to just auto win a game anymore. You've got to really make sure that you're continuing to focus and stay on the ball, and they just dropped the ball completely there. So JADE Dragons, for the first time tonight, will find themselves with a sizable gold lead right now in this game, and they're not looking to stop anymore.
Look, something else that's really important to point out is that Cletus actually did the thing. He managed to take down Hemophiliac. If you look above Hemophiliac's thing, he doesn't have a bounty anymore, which means
it was collected, eh? Yeah. And how did it happen as well? Because Aatrox wouldn't even have used his flash. So we've been seeing really similar trades in topside, haven't we, with how it's gone? You know, Aatrox lands the ethereal chains, he queues up with the Q1, and then, you know, QE to make sure he guarantees the second knock-up, and then he gets that pullback. An interesting thing to note for the Vladimir and the Aatrox is that if Vladimir doesn't actually pull himself out of the W, you can't actually pull it. Meaning that if you go into your W as Vlad, you're still going to get pulled back. You just won't be able to be targeted for that brief moment in time. We haven't seen it yet, but come team fights, we may. The fact that there is so much move speed on the side of JADE Dragons means for me that we're probably not going to get eyes on that micro interaction, but something to keep in note as top lanes just want to continue to fight each other. Speaking of fighting,
there's a flag there that gets away. The water's a chum now. That's a big piece of ham. And it's a big shutdown that Kasumi might just be able to take away. And there it is. There's no way Easy Life can move. The Chaos Storm can't chase Kasumi down.
Yeah, terrible for Easy Life there, where it's pretty much just a case of it's either you or me, buddy. And Tempest decides to keep himself alive and not his mid laner. Just not respecting bot lane priority right now. Not respecting this Vladimir and this Varus are dealing an insane amount of damage despite what you've got. And I think STARCASTERS need to sort of chill out a little bit because, yeah, they're champ scale, but if we keep losing these early fights, it's going to be incredibly tricky. Speaking of aggression, though, Rekri going up incredibly far. You can just see how these players have sort of been re-energized in how they want to play this game, you know? That scorecard, 8-3, they're sitting at a pretty sizable gold advantage. STARCASTERS aren't out of it yet. This is one of the cleanest teams, in my opinion, maybe potential favorites for the tournament. Like, only a team like STARCASTERS would be able to come back from a game like this. So, it's certainly not out of any means, but it's just curious for me, Quicksand. I'm curious, I'm interested to see what JADE Dragons do with the lead now. Because you've worked really hard to actually get this gold lead onto your carries, but you've still got to do something with it. So where do you go? Do you prioritize knocking down the tier 1 in mid or top? And do you want to ditch this third Drake because it doesn't really matter all that much? Or do you want to play for those 5v5 team fights? Because if you do, Vlad's going to need to make sure he gets himself bite back down to the dragon. But with 5 seconds to spawn, they're either going to fight a 4v5 or just watch them take it.
not having Vlad with them is pretty much gonna make this fight way too hard. And it looks like they're pinging towards it. Control Ward's giving away vision and volley straight over the wall. The smite doesn't come through, and it's gonna be Dark to pick up the Dragon. There should be a fight here, but maybe STARCASTERS want an engage, or maybe Jade Dragons want a scuffle, but it really shouldn't be anything going down. Tempest, he's trying to start something. This guy's aggro, man. Back up.
Yeah, no. That's not how he plays. This is Tempest Jarvan you're speaking of, Quicksand. Go in, go in, go in. But yeah, it's really interesting. I think just not really respecting, I think Jade Dragon, speaking of not respecting, Cletus may be caught out here. They will have move speed from Zilean soon. Maybe they just try and go for the Herald instead. Decent play because they do have tempo. But speaking of tempo, Jade Dragon's just not respecting STARCASTERS' quality there. Recognizing that Vlad doesn't have TP and that he shows on the top wave means we just get Dragon. They might even want to contest this Herald fight as well. This is where the game will really spill over, depending on what happens.
He's pretty much just trapped Hemophiliac here inside the Cataclysm and escaped himself. The choppers have been burned, but the Herald has been given away now. STARCASTERS have had just menu log mealtime being handed over to them, and that Rift Herald is going to be so handy. Once again, it looks like Tempest is the guy who's trying. He's grussling, man. You know what grussling is, Casual?
I actually don't. What is grussling?
It's grinding and hustling.
Ah, very nice.
Tempest got his grussle up.
He's got the... I'm so sad that I didn't know what that was until now. I feel like there's so many moments in my life where I could have said that word, and now I'm sad, but I'm also really excited about all the future opportunities to say the word grussling. So thank you very much.
I'm glad I can reward you then. Oh, hold on. With the dog coming out of the ground, it looks like Fizz is going to have his best mate pick up a kill, but now Kasumi forced to flash away. Easy life on his back foot. Oh, he's going to come back to life if he gets killed now. And the Chaos Storm comes out, the Resurrect barely at the end of its timer. Reiki forced out of the fight. And Fizz E is disgusting. He refuses to die. Tempest forced out. Hemo's under the tower. He needs to get out.
Wow, okay, huge fight coming out from Jade Dragons, and this is what I was talking about with that Zilean pick as well. It allows severe overextension, and plays that should never really be allowed to be made actually come up big. So Viz able to dive this tier 1 and this tier 2, surviving due to the fact that he's got that Zilean ulti, and by the time that Zilean ulti actually resurrects him out of that GA, he's then got his E back up again. So now he can become even more invulnerable. So it's this really nice micro interaction between the Fizz and just watching their cooldowns. Both Fizz and Zilean want to stack CDR, so that's only going to get worse as this game goes on. But yeah, I just don't think Redimus knew that that was a play that can actually be made with these champs. And this is that risk, right? When you're playing meta and you're versus non-meta, it's kind of like the reason why tournaments ban a new champ, right, Quicksand? It's not just because we think it's going to be broken, because in my opinion, Riot's newly released champs have actually been pretty balanced on release. I feel like maybe that's a hot take, I'm not too sure. I think they haven't been as crazy broken as they used to be.
They haven't been broken, I reckon.
No, they're not broken, but the reason why people still think they kind of are is because we don't know what they do. And this might be the case for StarCasters. We may have never seen a Vladimir top play to 9 to plat comp before. We may not really have even seen a Fizz. You know, things like this that we don't see often means that we don't understand the interaction between them. And so that may be Jade Dragon's win con in this game. So StarCasters are going to need to get their Peepo notes out quick, understand what's actually going wrong in these team fights, and start playing for the right win con. Because right now, these fights are looking incredibly scary, and it's mainly due to the fact that there's not enough peel for Jinx in this game, I don't think. So if Vlad actually does get onto Dark, their backlane gone. Gone off the face of the earth, you're out of there. So they need to find that primary engage, do StarCasters, to make sure their carries need to burn those significant cooldowns like the Zilean ulti, like the Volibear ult, and then re-engage. That's their plan. They've got to play almost in 2 steps. Whereas Jade Dragons right now, ball's in their court, they get to do whatever the hell they want, and maybe they may prioritize this Dragon. We'll need to make sure that Vlad actually gets to bot side this time though.
With the ball in their court, I mean, everything swarms around them. How the game is decided also means it's up to them. When you're in control of the game, you get to decide the tempo that the game is being played at. And with this Dragon coming up, I mean, now it's up to Jade Dragon to decide how this is going to be contested. They can leave it, cause a fight, they can go straight after it. And even though the Dragon is coming up in 30 seconds now, Volibear is making a bang. Whether there's a reset to get straight over the Dragon, Tempest is full up on items and his team full up on health. But with the lack of vision that they're having, besides just the scuttle, they can't tell where everyone is, and therefore they can't force a contestant on this dragon. I mean, you learn something new about vision every single day. I found out that my teammates actually learned that you need to turn on your monitor. That was a revolutionary move in vision, which was quite incredible.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Me too, man. Me too. Hold on.
And Scenario's going to get jumped on here, and there's no chance for him to fight the game. The Stormbreaker comes out, and all it's going to do is keep him alive. Has a resurrection on his back foot, stopping him from going down. Tempest charges back in the fight, and just grows bigger. Lulu on his tail, and now they're trying to engage all the way. Hemophiliac going down. Kasumi all alone gets a pick, but wasn't worth it. He trades his life away for it, as Recri's now on the front lines, and as a Zillion, mate, that is not where you should be. Cletus! Redimus? Picks up another one there. Not sure how that happened.
No, that was, oh god, that was just gorgeous from STARCASTERS. I could not be more impressed with them in that fight. And they played it exactly like I said that they needed to, in 2 steps. Mind your engage. You can't play too fast versus a Zillion. You need to be able to kite back and then re-engage. And they found those crucial resets, didn't they? Onto that Vladimir, allowing Dark to get that extra passive move speed to continue auto-attacking. Yes, he does fall to the Fizz in the end, but that's pretty much just a consolation prize for JADE Dragons. The STARCASTERS cleaned up everyone else. Crucially though, I may add for JADE Dragons, both their Volibear and Varus didn't fall, meaning they still have those bounties up. So it's not as crazy as a gold swing as it potentially could have been, but that shouldn't take away from how STARCASTERS played that fight. That's exactly what they needed to do with their comp. Everyone was in the right position. Easy Life was in the back, same with Dark as well until his eventual fall, and then Cletus was just running the show. He even got the Lulu overgrowth as well. Like, he was an incredibly strong member, and when you don't have Worgen able to actually free hit, there's not much DPS to actually take down this Aatrox. So STARCASTERS, knowing that, pushed right into their jungle, and it all started with Daenerys getting caught, but because JADE Dragons have so much to actually stop them from getting caught, it shouldn't mean that the fight should just go poorly if STARCASTERS find that initial engage, but it's on them to outplay, and outplay they did. So this game looking a lot much closer to being a bit of a banger right now, as STARCASTERS don't want to go out without a fight.
Yo, hey, Dark, hey, what's up, man? RFC? Hello?
RFC. Interesting.
I personally have never built RFC. Maybe it's a lack of understanding of Jinx, but I can see where the thought process is coming from. Having an RFC gives you a little bit of extra range every 4th auto attack or so, meaning that, you know, Dark, who has almost pretty much been getting one-shot by the likes of Worgen, Kasumi, even Daenerys jumping on him to have Hemophile, Dark is having a hard time staying in this game, and because of that, he has gotten RFC to keep a bigger distance away from his teammates. As Hemo, he should be dead here. His pull on a very steady recharge, as now Tempest is here to back him up. Hemo's forced to burn the flash. The now Cataclysm coming out. Hemo can't escape the Cataclysm with his W, and that means he's going to go down.
Yeah, no, just not an understanding of, again, another interaction between Hemophiliac. But while he does fall, it means that JADE Dragons get priority onto this Baron. They have started it, but their DPS isn't great. I think STARCASTERS can get to this. Aatrox TP'd as well. They want to take the fight.
And now the Stormbreaker comes through. Volley once again. He's not using the Hourglass. The Resurrection. He finally goes down, and now he gets a chance to come back up, but it's being too long, my friend. STARCASTERS are ready to take the Baron.
Alright, beautiful answer coming out from STARCASTERS, making sure that they get the top play going. JADE Dragons make the correct macro decision, and they go, okay, let's start Baron. But they don't recognize that their champions, yeah, while they're fun and unique, they don't have a lot of great Baron damage, meaning that STARCASTERS can actually get Aatrox to reset, come back into the fight with pretty much full HP, and then just clean up the fight from there. So STARCASTERS very much in the driver's seat, and I think JADE Dragons are going to worry now because of that dragon stacking too. So only 2 minutes away means that STARCASTERS have plenty of Baron to play with. It's pretty much just up to them about what lane JADE Dragons will need to match now. Where do they need to answer? Because STARCASTERS can deploy pretty much anywhere on the map. I mean, tier 2s are available in top, mid, and bot. That is usually the objective that you want to go for with Baron Quicksand, is you want to make sure that you get that free 600 gold. You have easy pushing, priority when it comes to this Aatrox, who is just absolutely slapping up Hemophiliac now on his Vladimir despite his early prowess. So STARCASTERS absolutely in the driver's seat. May even look to end here as well if they do find that juicy engage. Can start with a siege, but we could end with a 2-0 here. JADE Dragons need to be very careful about how they play out these last couple minutes.
You got a lot of good metaphors about like winning. Ball's in their court, in the driver's seat. Mate, I need to hear what's next. Okay, well, hopefully it swings around so you can give us a new one.
We'll see.
Either way.
Nothing will beat 40 winks, though, I'll tell you that much.
The Baron now putting pressure on this turret as Tempest ready to go for the dive. And unfortunately, Daenerys having Stormbreaker under his own turret isn't any more special.
Oh, wow. So Tempest actually got caught by the Varasort, but Redimus had a really nice outplay there to make sure that he actually polymorphs Worgen, meaning that he can't get that stack with the Blight and actually chunk Tempest out to the point that they need to reset. However, they're still going to reset because they really want to play for Soul, and that's totally fine right now. 4K gold lead, you're not under any sort of time pressure to close out this game. You have really nice scaling in the Jinx and the Victor as well, so it's not going to be end of the world if you do decide to stop pushing with Baron and make sure you get priority with vision towards the bot side river. But you're going to need to try and find something if you're Jade Dragons to actually make sure that you can enter bot side right now. Can you even afford giving up the Soul? I mean, Cloud Soul is beautiful on champions like Aatrox and like Jinx as well. So I worry that if we give this up, we're going to end up giving many more objectives into the future, or just allow the Starcasters to do this, which is just push down any lane that they want and then rotate themselves back towards. Because right now, the only way for Vladimir to get onto the backline is through a flank, and he doesn't have TP. So he can't actually TP to sort of somewhere out of vision into Fog of War to sort of catch Starcasters out of guard. And because they have Baron, means that they have vision priority. We can see now in their bot side jungle, almost every single quadrant and entrance that Jade Dragons could use to contest this dragon are there. And we can see them even starting their recalls to get a reset in. This Soul is gone. It's going to be Cloud Soul over to Starcasters. And this game looking very precarious to the side of JD.
It feels like they've got, you know those new privacy screens that have been coming out? Casual?
Oh, yeah. My girlfriend's got one. I hate it. I hate it with a passion. Oh, dude.
And I think that Jade Dragons probably hate it as much as you do with the vision they have right now.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible. I mean, my girlfriend will try and show, she'll be like, oh, look at this funny TikTok or whatever. And I'll be like, I can't fucking see it, you idiot. You absolute goose. Like, you've done this. Like, I want to see your funny TikTok, but you're showing me as if, like, you've got some FBI secret document there, so now I can't see anything. Like, I'm sure you thought it was a great idea at the time when you had to get your... Anyway, I'm ranting about my relationship. I'm going to stop. Back to the game.
Well, maybe having a privacy screen casual for your script, I understand that. I don't know how you do it.
I mean, I need one.
You burn the content, you kill the messenger and all of that so that no information can be leaked until stream time. Hemo now, he's facing up against a challenge, has his jungler to help him out, and it is going to be enough to keep him alive. Now, the rest of Starcasters have decided to... What's a good word for walkies? They decided to dilly-dally their way. They decide to frolic their way topside. Oh, that's a great word. They decide to frolic their way topside. They may not have the big Bazzer to back them up, but they do have the Cloud Soul to push them forward. They can move faster through this jungle now, and that gives them even more opportunity to spread their pressure out. They want to go for a siege here, and it is certainly going to seem like it's going to start paying off.
And they don't need to really play this necessarily all that fast. Yeah, Jarvan does really excel at diving, but it's a scary time to dive someone like a Zillion and a Vlad, right? So you don't need to play for that. You can just play for the siege. And Easy Life is outputting so much damage on this Victor, actually poking out the carries. I mean, Cletus again putting on a bit of a clinic with this Aatrox. They need to engage first. Hold on,
he doesn't get a chance, he's going to have to run away. Tempest over the wall, into Kasumi, who's gone golden. Now Cletus and Tempest are forced out of the fight. It's just Volibear here on the top side, as Cletus is going to chase down the Vladimir. Hemo barely making it away, flashing forward, he gets the pick! And now, it's a chance for Aatrox to start closing out the game here. They're missing Hemo, which is huge.
They're missing Vlad. They're also effectively missing their support and their jungler who need to go back to base. Actually, all of them really do. They're going to leave Worgen to defend this on their own, but what's he going to do? Now he has to burn Flash, so not respecting the reset, and Starcasters are looking for the end.
And it might just come here, with Zillion trying to force them off here, using his time bombs as well as he can. I feel like I'm watching, what's that new spy movie? I wish I could reference that better. You know what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah, sure, go on, yeah.
Now, pushing down the Nexus, it's just 2 towers left to go. Cletus is showing his dominance right now. 5 and 2 is just the figurehead for the team right now, spearheading every single charge and successfully shutting down Hemo and Kasumi whenever he can.
Yep, Starcasters don't want to overplay this though. They may need to sort of call it quits at some point, yeah, in case that engage does actually end up being found onto one of their members. So all they'll sort of get negatively is that Victor Flash that they need to pop. Other than that though, a beautiful siege, taking down 2 inhibs as well. Elder Dragon to spawn in just under 3 minutes. They can easily reset and look towards Baron. May not even want to reset. They might want to go straight towards the Baron. They have a lot of options for them. All JADE Dragons can really do is farm up their supers as best they can and then choose where they want to fight. Do they think that they can fight this Baron, or do they go towards the Elder Drake? I think you may need to give Baron. It sounds really difficult to do because you are 2 inhibs down, but you just can't walk in. Look at the vision that Redimus has actually set up in this top side. Impossible for them to actually find flank angles without Starcasters spotting their position. So go to where there isn't vision. And that's the bot side quadrant right now. So JADE Dragons hopefully able to read that play, get themselves the Elder, because Elder Dragon is such an objective quicksand that you can only have 1 Drake. You can have 2 inhibs down. You can even have Baron gone, but Elder is just that. It's just so scary, isn't it? That it actually may be the thing that turns this game around for JADE Dragons, but it could just be 2 gone too quick. Right now, you know, 8k gold down they are, as Baron is being put into the crosshairs for Starcasters and will look towards it. Now, instead of it being like in this game, Starcasters actually have decent Baron damage. So they can actually start this objective first, or they can just walk in, see if they can catch anyone out. And the waves are just so important. Cletus, with his TP, is able to just sit bot side, drag as many members as he actually can. Even look for a fight. My God.
Teemo forced to go golden and then W. And it looks like Cletus has pretty much found the combo that he needs to use to shut down Teemo here, as the Baron is pretty much getting whittled down. It's a minute 18 to go until the Elder Dragon spawns, and a minute 18 the JADE Dragons, at the very least, have to fend off Starcasters to find maybe a non-zero chance of taking the Elder Dragon.
But honestly, they may not even need it quick. Like, look at them just walk down the base. They just want to use this Baron to try and get this fight going. I mean, Cletus was able to drag so much pressure towards him. Literally all 5 members going towards Cletus. They still couldn't find the kill. Means that they burn important cooldowns. And for what, really? As Starcasters break down the base, that's all inhibs gone. Double inhib soon to spawn. Dark does get caught. Hold on, could be a decent fight.
He's wanted to go in here on Dark, but it just doesn't go down. The peel is too good right now. And that's something that's been outstanding from Starcasters as well. Fizz constantly has been looking for engages, but having the RFC and then having a team like his to peel him off has just made it pretty much unwinnable for him. As the second turret now looking to go down, Stormbreaker used by Daenerys to get away! Let you show you how the state of this game is right now. They don't even have a chance to contest this Nexus, and it looks like Starcasters may just be fate breakers, deal makers, casual, fate. It may be Starcasters walking away with the victory, but it's not only JADE Dragons, but casual walking away with the L as well.
Why'd you have to say that? Oh no, I feel terrible. I feel terrible. All right. Oh gosh.
Wait, what happened to my channel points, guys? Wait, guys.
I may need to open up my wallet and start repaying people after that performance. God, Starcasters, I mean, it didn't look good early, did it? I mean, JADE Dragons really came out with a vengeance, wanted to actually really fight and contest for this game too and make it to 3 games, but Starcasters just showing such an incredible amount of experience to come back from behind. And yeah, the gold lead wasn't crazy. It hadn't really overblown. I mean, JADE Dragons at their peak was probably about 4 or 5k in front. It's decent, but it's not the craziest thing we've seen so far in this tournament. But Starcasters built themselves back up from rock bottom, managed to find key gold onto their carries like this Victor on Easy Life, who's actually had a really, really strong series in my opinion. He hasn't been, you know, faker playmaker in terms of these games. He hasn't done anything absolutely crazy, but he's found a solo kill in the mid lane, you know, countering that gank in game 1. And then has also just output a lot of what Starcasters actually needed to really let their key carry shine. And that would be Cletus for me. I mean, talk about an MVP. This guy has done an incredible job in this series. He absolutely popped off on the Gwen. He knew exactly how his matchup worked in the Aatrox. Vlad, yeah, he fell behind a bit early, but he didn't really let that concern him. Made really good macro decisions in terms of being bot lane and allowing his team to just jump straight onto the Baron. The Baron that actually ended the game, mind you. So if I had to crown some sort of MVP, I mean, Starcasters, everyone played really, really well. I think Red, as we talked about in the pre-game quicksand, is very new to the role, and he actually had a really decent job, already looking better than some of the support mains that we've seen in Iron to Plat since for years. So I think kudos has to go to him. But MVP for me, Quicksand, it has to go to Cletus up in the top lane. How about you?
Yeah, mate, I'm with you. Look, Cletus has just been a shining light for the side of StarCasters the entire game. Look, first and second at that. Cletus not only carried in this one, but pretty much made the game in the last one. Without his Gwen, it would have been a very different game for the Jade Dragon. So, Cletus very much deserves the MVP, even if it's just for the first game. My dad has now come to say good night to me. Good night, Dad.
Good night, Dad. Good night, Quicksand, Dad.
Everyone say good night, Dad.
Night, Dad.
I feel like you ever watch In the Night Garden casual?
Oh, I love In the Night Garden. The little, what's the rock one called? Macapaka?
Macapaka.
Goated Macapaka. Hashtag Macapaka believers in chat. Oh, was he your favorite, or did you have a favorite?
Oh, look, I like Eagle Pickle, man. Eagle Pickle had me just every single time he had his little blanket, I was like, yeah.
What were those little ones
Daisy,
in the tree?
I had a bit of a crush though. But
Upsy Daisy really opened a lot of us, I think, to some things inside we may not have known were there. No, love Upsy Daisy. What about those little like beans in the tree? Do you remember those guys?
The little like wooden guys, yeah?
The little wooden beans in the tree. I don't know. They made me feel at home. Anyway, In the Night Garden, great show if you haven't seen it. Absolutely do recommend. Go and see In the Night Garden. But look, the only content that we're going to be advocating for is more of this tournament, which will continue on straight into next week, right? Week 4. So we talked about, you talked about actually how these teams needed to split themselves apart, because right now they're 1 win, 1 loss. So StarCasters will actually be, as far as Group B is concerned, the best MCOM team, just sitting under Weekend Warriors right now in Group B. We can take actually a little look at the standings, why don't we, since we've crowned our MVP, see how tonight has gone. Let me do a little refresh here. Let's have a little look-see, as my internet has just been fantastic.
Oh, -2. Okay.
Okie doke. Here we go. So it looks like Stormwolves and Knights in Group A prevailed over their particular matchups. Weekend Warriors, to no one's surprise, found a dub in their matchup versus Ches. And sorry, not Ches, versus Balhai, pardon me. And then that's pretty much it so far. So looking pretty good. Weekend Warriors on Group B proving to be the strongest contenders for the title so far. And then in Group A, Stormwolves following up very close behind. But all credit to StarCasters, who really did need to bounce back after last week, Quicksand. And all credit to them for finding a really, really clean series in this 2-0 versus Jade Dragons.
That's right. Look, I don't think there's much more to say besides it was a fantastic game from both teams once again. I think that's something really important to point out is every single week we've done this, but both of the teams are putting up a really good fight. And I'm really interested to see where this goes. We just had a clash between Comfort and Meta right now. But in the end, I think that if the comfortability or whatever was swapped over to the side of StarCasters, I think they would have taken the dub regardless. They are a team that has managed to control the board really well. And that peel, as I mentioned earlier, they're so seamless as a team. Obviously, there are still a couple mistakes, seeing as these guys aren't the top of the top professionals, but they are very, very good platinum players. And again, their peel is just like, Fizz did not get a chance to do anything that game.
No, not really. They actually played really, really well towards their win con, and I think that's something that a lot of these teams need to kind of figure out as this tournament goes on, is understanding what your win con actually is and making sure that you're playing towards it. So did a fantastic job of that. I mean, StarCasters, I've always believed in them, and so I'm glad that they got this dub. But I think one thing that we have to note before we go is that while Jade Dragons did fall and did actually, come up with any points in this series, they did prove one thing. And that's that not everyone can just be so rigid when it comes to draft. Like, we saw a really, really strong early game. And if anything, I would blame their macro decisions on the reason that they lost their game. It had nothing to do with picks for me. I think you can easily close out a game with the lead that they were able to accumulate. So I think a lot of teams can feel grateful that they don't need to be pressured into picking exactly what all the Korean teams are doing. You should be focusing on your comfort, because if any team can hold a candle towards StarCasters, Jade Dragons on paper aren't one of those teams, but they lent towards comfort. They did what they needed to do, and they got themselves to feel like they were safe and sound, and they did a pretty decent job. And even though they did fall, yes, it did look good in those early stages of the game. So credit for actually making it an exciting game too. I apologize to everyone's channel points. Sometimes the script, it's hard to read. Raisy's handwriting, it's not the best. We all know that.
Pick it again. Hold on. What does it say?
Wait, hold on. If I just rub it out. Oh, it actually says StarCasters 2-0. Oh no. Oh, I just misread it. Oh, so I'm actually still an absolute goat and I'm always correct. And I've never been wrong in my life. I just misread the script, guys. That's all that happened. Okay, we can close the stream. All happy. Everyone understands what's going on. All good.
Maybe the real Starcaster tonight was you, Casual.
Oh, I think you were the real Starcast tonight, Quicksand. It was an absolute pleasure to be casting with you. And while it was only 2 games, we didn't get to spend a lot of time together. I look forward to week 4 where we'll be, I'm not sure who we're actually streaming. That'll be exciting. Be one of the teams we haven't seen yet. So maybe a lower part of the bracket and see if those teams can actually come up with some dubs. So yeah, all eyes onto week 4 as we're halfway through the tournament, aren't we? Edging just that little bit closer towards playoffs. I mean, a lot of these teams have looked really strong. Some have been a lot stronger than we may have been able to predict. So I think I'm pretty confident in saying it can be absolutely anyone's game. And that makes the sign of a really good tournament, I think.
I think so too. And then again, I may not be able to do next week as there is the setup for DreamHack, which is a fairly big event. If anyone here is going to come, please feel free to come and say hi. I'd love to talk to everybody. I want to put that out there. So yeah, very excited to see all my League of Legends homies. I'll be working. You'll probably see me around. So just want to put that out there. Maybe the real Starcasters were the friends we made along the way. Casual.
Of course. Now, always.
So besides that, fantastic game from both of the teams. Big shout out to Mayhem for producing as well. He is a goat on the OBS. And shout out to everyone for watching and the team for playing. I have just been delivered a cup of chamomile tea, have half a bagel left at finish, and a bed to sleep in. So
all right, lovely.
You all have at least one of those 3 the same as well. And have a wonderful night, everybody.
Yep. All right. See you, everyone. I just want to do a quick shout as well towards the admins too. So not only Mayhem, but Blazin, Saku, and White Nico behind the scenes make a lot of the things that we actually see on stream actually function and keep the teams in line because Iron to Plat players are animals. We all understand that. So making sure the pigs are in their pens. Thank you towards the admins. But enough jokes, enough puns. We're off. My name has been Casual. Thank you so much, Quicksand, for joining me on to the cast week 4. So next Wednesday, guys, is when we will be back on stream at /MCOM TV for some new updated standards, some new information, and some new teams to watch battle it out onto the Rift. And we will see you then.
Bye, everyone.